Hello everyone, I'm Neil DeFranco with Alphonse Wissahickon Realtors, and this is the first installment of Monthly Market Statistics discussing Springfield Township, Montgomery County. The data goes back to 2013 up through November of 2017. I hope to have an update once the December data is in. Please bear with me. I will try to make this as quick as possible. Thank you. So before we get to the numbers, I wanted to discuss the seller's market. We are currently experiencing a seller's market. We have been for a long time. A seller's market is simple. It's a shortage of homes for sale. We have more buyers out there than we have inventory to sell to them. And this is going to continue, even in December, even when it's cold, because you have buyers who have been looking all year and have not found the properties they're looking for, and we still have this shortage of inventory. We're going to see a continuation of the seller's market. And at the end of this video, I'll have a little discussion about how strong of a seller's market it is. But it really comes down to how much inventory is there and how long it typically takes to sell all of the properties on the market. So here we are with our key market indicators. We're looking at the entire residential market for Springfield Township. This is all price ranges going from first quarter of 2013 through the fourth quarter of 2017. This fourth quarter over here is incomplete at this time. We don't have data for December. Over on the left-hand side, our vertical axis here is being used for two things. We're using it for the bar graph, which represents units or properties, and we're also using it for our average days on market, the yellow line. The right-hand side is pricing. That's there for our average sold price and our average list price, shown at the top in the blue and the green lines. So coming through, I want to point out this peak in the second quarter. For each year that we are looking at, you have a peak of new listings in the second quarter of the year. This is your spring market. You do typically see more properties listed during this time. This is also the time when the sellers have the most competition because there are more properties on the market. And now the next thing we're going to discuss here is the average days on market. And you can see a peak in the average days on market. This is going to happen during your winter months. We see this in the first quarter of each year, except for 2013, where you see it in the fourth quarter. Now, if you look at this line, it's coming up or above an average of 80 days on market for each of these slower periods, except in 2017, where it barely makes it to 60 days on market. So that's a pretty big difference from 2017 to the rest of the data set. And at the same time, we're coming down to an average of as low as 40 days on market roughly for every other year, whereas in 2017, we're seeing a trend pushing down. This fourth quarter, we don't have all the data, but it looks like we're pushing below 30 days on market average. The next slide we're going to look at, we're going to shrink this market. Instead of looking at the total residential market, we're going to look at a subset of the market. So I'm going to isolate the price range from $200,000 to $600,000. That's still a huge range, but what it does is it removes a lot of the outliers, which are creating this jagged look for the sold pricing and list pricing. So I'm not going to discuss them on this slide. We'll wait for the next slide for that data. So here we are continuing our discussion of the key market indicators. I realize here we're looking at the same data that we had on the previous slide. Up top here I'm saying we're looking at a subset of $200,000 to $600,000 in the township. I just want you to see the transition here as we go from one chart to the next. The trend for the units listed, pended, and sold stays about the same. We do have lower numbers, but the trend stays the same. What changes, we look at the sold pricing and the listed pricing. Instead of having the jagged shape that we had with the total residential market, we have more of a gradual trend line here when we look at the subset of properties between 200 and 600,000. Second quarter, we still see the same peaks that you would expect of new properties coming to the market. And then when we look at the average days on market, a little bit of a difference from the total market here. Every slow period was spiking up to about 80 days previously, and now we get 80, we get 85, 70, 65. But what's really important, let's look here back at 2017 in the first quarter. When we had the total market, we were coming up to 60 days on market, and here we're barely making it to 50 days. And then even more important down here for the third quarter, and of course the incomplete fourth quarter, so anything could happen here, but we're pushing 20 days on market. Nowhere else do you see that. So low days on market, this is a strong indicator of the seller's market, but it's not the main indicator, and we're going to get to that. Okay, so as we continue the discussion, we're going to drill down and look at data from just 2017. We're not going to go back to the total residential market. We will stick with this subset from $200,000 to $600,000. And so let's look here from March through June. You see roughly the same amount of new listings hitting the market. Yet at the same time, the average days in market in April took a dip below 20 days on market. And also in April, looks like the same number of new listings matched the number of listings that went pending. And then of course we see this climb in days in market, and then a pretty significant decline through the end of the year where we stay below 30 days on market, with November being a sharp decrease here. We're below 15 days on market average in November. So it'll be interesting to see how December finishes out the year. So here's where we are with the current market at the time of this recording, which is December 12th. I've got two price ranges here. The subset that we were talking about, the $200,000 to $600,000 price range, current inventory is 22 homes for sale. Our average monthly sales at this point are 16 units. This is for the rolling average over the last 12 months. And our current inventory accumulation, this is the amount of time that it would take to sell all of the properties that are currently on the market based on the average monthly sales. This is 1.4 months. This is where we get the concept of the strong seller's market. Because this number is so low, that is why we call it a seller's market. When we look at the total market, and this is running from a range of 124,000 is the low listing at this time, to just over $2 million. And that has a current inventory of 40. And the reason I have the asterisk there is 3 of those properties are currently under contract at the time of this video. When we look at this total market, the average monthly sales go from 16 to 19, and our inventory accumulation increases a little bit to just over 2 months. So still a seller's market, not quite as strong as the subset, but for Springfield Township, it's a strong indicator that that it is a seller's market. There is not enough inventory, even today, for the amount of buyers that are out there looking. Well, that's it for now. Feel free to contact me through the comments section. I'm also available through text, phone, or email, and online at realtorneil.com. Don't forget to like my page, and thank you for your time today. Take care.